Welcome to Bella in Your Business. My name is Bella Vasto with Jump Consulting, and today I have a long-term client of mine, Laura Wright with PAWright Pet Services. And Laura, I just adore you. I cannot wait for you to come to Jump into Paradise here in Arizona in the summer, where I can actually just hug you because I just adore you. Right before you guys, we were about to record, she had some music on in the background and I was like, hey, Laura, can you turn that off? And she's like, Alexa, be quiet. And Alexa turns off. And I just think that's the best thing ever. But I don't have one. I think that's amazing. But Laura, welcome to the show. Thanks for being
thank
on.
you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love that sweet as pie accent. So why don't you tell everyone where you're from and when you started your company, and give us a little bit understanding of who you are and what your background is.
Yeah, sure. My husband and I started our company 6 years ago. Before getting into the real job world, worked with wildlife rehab and worked primarily with birds of prey. And then after I was laid off from a job at an insurance company, I didn't want to go back to that. So I came home and said, hey, I'm starting a pet sitting business. And he said, who? And here we are.
Incredible. And so how many years has it been?
6.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you started it, did you ever think you would be where you're at today? Tell us where you're at today. I know you have some people helping you, and you've made big switches and stuff. So
Today, Eric died in September. So that threw I don't say a wrench, but a challenge for me. And I went through a phase of just not caring.
Yeah.
And I don't want to care for your cat. I don't care. And luckily I have a good group of sitters that work with me, and they were able to pick up the slack and smack me around and things like that. So
yeah,
and a good group of friends that were able to do the same.
And that's one of the things that I admire about you, because that was a really tumultuous time. And I definitely want to get to that and talk about you, the person. But how did you go from, I think I want to start this business, to Eric thinking you're just totally crazy, and to building it and then having people work for you? How did you make your first leap, I would imagine, from going solo to, oh, shoot, I need help? Tell me about that experience.
Well, we started off, we went to this, we have a small business incubator here in town. And so we just went to that. And I went to their first class. So you think you want to start a business. And they kind of did the layover of everything that you needed to do. And when we were there, we met a lady that was working and assisting startups. And her name is Catherine. We're still buddies with her, but she came along and said, I will help you get your website up and running, and we'll help you get your Facebook up and running, and all these things that we needed. And she said, well, I'll give you. She gave us blog stuff and Facebook posts, and telling somebody else I know that does that, and then we got one client, and then we got another client, and then we got another client, and and it all, next thing we knew, Eric and I were both running crazy separate directions. And we happened to be looking in our neighborhood paper, and a girl said, do you need your dog walked? And Eric goes, I'm gonna call her and see if she'll help us. And she did. I mean, she had her own company, but we ended up, she helped us and we helped her. So when she would go on vacation, I'd take care of her clients. When we were on vacation, she took care of our clients. And it was just it worked out great. And then it would just seem like it just every other week or so you go, man, we need to find another pet sitter. Man, we need to find another pet sitter. And we had some bad ones along the way that just didn't work out, or something like that. But right now I've got 3 that they're moving to employees. And since I've recently bought out a pet sitter in another part of town far, far away. I'm looking for 3 more in that area. So
That's so fantastic. I love how organic that is. And I also
yeah.
love I think there's a big lesson there, Laura, for a lot of our listeners, that you kind of started out by advice and help. And it was like a
Mhm.
community effort,
Right.
like you weren't sure where to go. You called it the incubator that was local. I
Mhm.
know a lot of places have that.
Right.
Has that. I actually am a guest mentor there sometimes and just
Okay.
talk about stuff. And it's just so exciting and awesome to see people who want to start businesses. So I want to encourage the listeners. The first thing is seek out, if you're just in the beginning stages, because we have some listeners that are in the beginning stages, see what kind of resources are in your local town. Just look up small business, call up the chamber, Google it. How did you find out about this incubator thing, Laura?
I've just known about it. I mean, I've always knew it was there.
Yeah.
And so I just went on their website and saw their class. They have tons of free online classes. Most of the classes that are there at the incubator are free, or if they're cost anything, it's like $50 or something. And generally that's for like if you like my QuickBooks. I went there to learn my QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And that was a fee. But once I paid that QuickBooks fee, I could go back and get QuickBook refreshers and
Uh-huh.
changes too, and keep me updated on it.
That's dynamite. So you guys, I want to really encourage you. That's a really good idea, is
Yeah.
QuickBooks, because I know that's like a bane to a lot of pet sitting business owners' existence, right? Is, God forbid, the QuickBooks. And that's not even like necessarily when you first start. That's like
Right.
usually a year or two into it when you're like, shoot, I really need to like keep better track of stuff. Um, I As we talk about that, I know that you also have some lessons that you've learned about the QuickBooks and the bookkeeping, and you've kind of been through the ringer there. Do you want to share with our audience the woes? Because I think what is the most important part about this, Laura, is that you didn't just give up, you stuck through it. And I see
Right.
a lot of that in your life and in the things that you don't give up. And that's one
No,
of the reasons why
no.
I wanted you on this show. So tell us about your first experience with a CPA and a bookkeeper, and how you realized you needed it, and then what happened, and then what really happened, and then what happened.
We went through 5 bookkeepers
Mm-hmm.
and CPAs. And we used QuickBooks online, and a lot of CPAs don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so my QuickBooks I saw was never accurate.
And I just want to interject. I think the reason why a lot of them, or the ones that say they don't like to do online, is
Mhm.
because they want the business themselves. Because when
Right,
it's online, they don't have as much control over it. So,
right, right, right.
yeah. So
But
go on. You said it wasn't up to date.
yeah, it was never up to date. Just throw it; it'll be okay. It
My
was,
microphone almost just fell, everyone who's listening and can't actually see, and I just caught it midair.
but it was, it was never. They would say it was up to date, but it was never. What I saw was never up to date, and it
Mm-hmm.
drove me crazy.
Yeah.
So, trying to find a CPA and a bookkeeper that would do QuickBooks online, and I finally did, and I was so excited and so happy. They had a person in their office that would do the taxes. I was so excited. And then she left, and so a CPA in Minnesota came in, and that CPA came in and did their taxes, and then I have my IRS issue folder just from that guy last year where he did my 2017 taxes, and where the IRS has come and told me the state of Tennessee let me know that my business has been closed, even though I just did my LLC, in December. The IRS says that I did not file a partnership correctly when Eric died, and it was just
You had a
so I
lot
said,
of
yeah,
things that weren't being handled the way they
that
needed
weren't
to
being
be handled.
handled right.
And then you were getting these notices saying things that were completely untrue, which just sends you
Yeah,
into a spiral, especially when it was during the season where you were, I don't care.
yeah. Exactly,
right?
exactly. And for some reason, I was listening to a sports radio talk show, and this guy comes on, they're talking golf. Okay, I don't like golf. I'm not a big sports person, but and I'm thinking, and he's talking about his CPA firm. Da, 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 and I thought, I think I'll give him a call. And I talk to him every other day. He owns the firm. I've got two of his tax people working with the IRS. I've got one of his guys moving me to payroll, and then John calls me, and I called him one time, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just scared. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he was like, we will take care of it. You go sit dogs. We will do the taxes. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
Yeah.
It was like
And
a
it's so
it was like
important to have,
aha moment.
yeah, it's so important to have a team that you can trust,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
it definitely isn't and you've been burnt before in
right.
ways of trusting people before, but there was something that clicked with this guy that I'm
Yeah,
really excited for you. And I'm so glad, Laura, that you just never gave up. That
yeah.
despite what are all these other things and dealing with Eric's death, and being told that your business is closed and that the IRS you owe back
Oh,
taxes because of
they're
some
putting a
mistake someone
lien. They're
else
putting a
did.
lien on my house. They were putting a lien on my house.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I mean,
That's just insane. That's
yeah,
insanity. It's absolute
yeah.
insanity. And nobody ever wants to call the IRS because you wait on hold for 2.5 hours for them to tell you
Mhm.
that they can't help you.
Right,
So,
exactly,
or that
exactly.
it's not their fault. So, Laura, I want to keep the story going. And tell me more about, um, I want to bring it to this because I know that our listeners have all gone through a lot of things in life, whether it's um, substance abuse, whether it's divorce, death, their own, mental, struggles. We all have
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
in our area. And one of the most amazing things that I think has come from such a tragedy in your life is your perseverance. And I want people to hear that story, however you feel comfortable sharing it.
Okay.
Um, Take me back to, you personally and how, when things happen, how you got through it, how you decided if and when you were going to go on with the business, and how you juggled this business that needs you like an infant
Hmm.
and your own personal person.
I think that I never going on with the business or not. Never.
Was a
I was
question.
going. Yeah, I was going to do it. That wasn't a question. Now how I don't know, but I was never going to do it. When Eric died in the ambulances and the police, he died at home of um, of unknown cause. Is what. Um, and so you kind of what just kind of floored me, and I even think about today sometimes is I had 10 or 15 policemen in my house, all of them asking me questions, all of it but being the same question but asked in a different way. I was like, why don't you just ask me if I killed him? No.
Oh my gosh.
I've thought about it a couple of times. No.
Oh my gosh.
So and that was hard. But as soon as everyone left, my neighbor across the street, my neighbor from up 2 houses up, who does some sitting for me on the, she's a teacher, and so she does it just kind of. They came over, and Brooke, she was like, okay, give me your schedule and give me the keys, and I was like, oh, okay,
You're in
and
a
then
state of shock at this
yeah,
point.
yeah, and then Alex uh, got my list of my sitters, and then he, who's never helped me in the business at all, but he went and called sitters to let them know that they needed to go and look at my jobs and do them,
Mm-hmm.
and then what had happened.
Yeah.
So it was like just you know like, okay, yeah, tell me what
Right.
everybody would say. You're just like, okay, yeah, okay, you know.
Yeah.
That's, but it was and Eric died of a drug overdose.
Uh-huh.
He's a one of the many statistics that are now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was and you got kind of a stigma over that you have to kind of walk yourself through, you know, um, and that's hard when it's just like saying, well, you know, it's almost like admitting something, like you've done a crime, but you really haven't.
Yeah.
But it's something that you've known that I knew it was going on, and had had just run out of options, I guess, and so I knew it was going on. His mother did, and you can't do. Um, you can only make someone go to rehab so many times. They
Right.
have to.
So
They
that
have.
must have been really hard on you as his wife, as a mom, as a business owner, to, you know, realize after it all happened, like, how are you going to move forward? And every day I'm sure is still moving forward. I don't know grief personally like that, but I do know many people very close in my
Mhm.
life that say you're always grieving. It never goes, it's not something that ever goes away. It's something that lives with you, that
But
you live with it, no pun intended there. But so talk to us about how you started taking those steps forward and then you realize like, oh my gosh, Eric used to do all of these things in the business, and how do I do that? And how did you pull yourself together, Laura? Because I think it's a quite the
I'm,
most remarkable story.
I'm still pulling myself together, but
Yeah.
I think it really hit me when I didn't have any money in my checking account, but I had a stack of checks that I had not loaded or deposited, because Eric would. That was one thing, he load the checks, get them deposited, and then I handled the back end, matching accounts, making sure everything was loaded correctly.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, when am I going to do this?
Hmm.
What am I going to do? And then like reconciling the bank and stuff every month. That was something I did, but it just seemed like it was all of this stuff where it had been two people. Now I always tell people I had to learn to do a two-person job by myself,
Uh-huh.
and so it was just yeah, it was just getting over that. And then I have a friend, a real close friend, whose husband killed himself several years ago, and just being able to talk to her and everything. Because actually I have two of my friends. One of them, her husband killed herself, and the other one, her husband died in a motorcycle accident.
Oh my gosh.
And so with just the two of them, it was, everything. I must say it made everything easier, but it didn't make me feel like I was always the bad person and I was handling it wrong.
Yeah, or you
Yeah,
were alone, like you
yeah,
had
yeah.
people that you could relate to, and I
Hmm.
think that's really important in anything that we go through in life is knowing that we're not the odd duck, that we're
Right.
not
Mhm.
alone, that other people have experienced similar, never the same thing, but very similar, and
Sure. Mhm.
empathize, right?
Right, right.
So what would you tell anyone listening as we're kind of bringing this to a little bit of a wrap? What kind of advice would you give to someone who's listening and saying, "Wow, Laura, like I've been through something like that too, and I know you're still going through it, and you
Mhm.
always will go through it. It hasn't been even a year yet, but what advice do you have for them?"
I just, don't beat yourself up. Um, do things as you want and I've still have, I bought a bed, but I've yet to put my footboard on my bed yet. Um, but I'm not beating myself up about it. I know not everything has to be done today.
Mm-hmm.
I make 100 trips a week to the Goodwill to, don't give clothing.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I tackle one corner of the room at a time, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all you can do. And if you don't feel like it, if it's too much, then you
Uh-huh.
don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
we had some guys come. I had this it's called the Junk King, and basically they bring this big truck and they clear out whatever you want them to clear out.
Mm-hmm.
So they cleared out my attic, and I didn't go while they were over there cleaning out the attic, and then they said, "Well, we still got room in the truck. Is there anything else you want?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do this, and then let's do that." And then they said, "Well, what about in here? Do you want us to uh, take these books or take this stuff up?" And then I was like, "No, those are Eric's books. No, 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 no." You know, and you can't. You
Yeah,
go.
it's all in your own time. So I
Yeah,
think what you're saying is be nice to yourself. And
mm,
you're saying um allow time to happen, and that there's no race to it. There's
yeah,
no right or wrong. You just do what you feel like doing as the time comes. Um I think one thing that's been really cool to watch you in the mastermind, Laura,
mm,
has been to set some goals and do them. Like I know that
yeah,
bookkeeper and that CPA thing was something that was really big for you. And
right.
the fact that you go and you just buy out someone else who's, getting out of the business. I mean, you're you're a sweet, sweet person, but you're also a force to be reckoned with, because it's like part of my motto. My motto, always keep jumping,
Jumping. Hmm.
because you're always jumping. You never
Yeah,
stop.
you have to keep going, because if you have to go forward, always in motion forward, because if not, then you'll just get sucked into the quicksand,
Yeah.
and it'll just eat you alive. And
Yeah.
you can't wallow in your you can wallow in your own sorrow, but you can't do it all the time every day.
Yeah. I hear you, girl. I hear you. You are such a blessing. Thank you so much for your time
But
and
thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
Tell our listeners how they can look you up or reach out to you if they feel that they've just connected listening to you today.
That my website is well, obviously, Paul PAWright Pet Services, and it's PAWright Pet Services, and they can get in touch with me from there.
Perfect.
So
Well, Laura,
yeah,
thanks for being a light in my life.
I,
You guys, I want you to
and
go
say,
ahead
I
and
say
find.
hi, say hi.
There's your dog. He's so cute. I want you guys to go ahead and find where you saw this episode and go ahead and give Laura a shout out. Let her know that you inspired her life, or she shined your light into her life if she did. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you are, and feel free to share it out to all your friends. This has been another episode of Bella in Your Business. Remember to always keep jumping.
Mhm.